So we are heading into the last 10, 12 minutes probably of our discussion. So I have a presentation which is more about the problems than about the solutions, but I believe it's important to understand more in depth the problems in order to be able to think about solutions. So it's about the anti-LGBT rhetoric, and I would like to explain how and why is it so effective in encroaching on the civil space in so many countries. And I give some examples from Russia, from Bulgaria, from Romania, from Hungary, and from Slovakia. And it's mainly based on parliamentary discussions and the documents that usually accompany legislation. And of course, obviously, I don't know all those languages. I use AI to understand text, to download the relevant information, and then I use some code to make conceptual and semantic networks and to analyze what it's about. And I'll be talking, okay. I have a few main points. I want to show that hatred against LGBT people is very deeply rooted, and it has a long history in Central and Eastern Europe, and also it has a long history in the countries from the ex-Soviet Union, but I don't have data about them, but I can assure you that data sets show the same things. Also, I want to show that something that you probably all know, that it has been declining for a very long time, but now it goes up again. And it hasn't been uniformly declining in all the countries. Then I'll show that internet now is the main media, and that's very important because it's a hybrid space, public-private. I mean, you're linked to politicians, also to your neighbors or to your co-workers, sometimes in one and the same place. And this hybrid space, this is something very important when it's about encroachment, and I will explain why. And then I want to show briefly that hatred is not necessarily logically coherent and consistent. You cannot disprove it by logical arguments or explaining that things are not like that something is different. It's much deeper than that. So that's why, finally, I'll show how it is very easily used. So here there is a very long-term data set from the European Values Survey. It starts early in the 80s, but for most countries it's not available from early in the 80s, but it's available from the late 80s. It's exactly when communist countries began to change. And then you can see, this is a very typical value questions. Do you want homosexuals as neighbors? And here we have those that don't want homosexuals as neighbors. Obviously, they use this term, LGBT. This terminology evolved gradually, and also in sociology you have to use terms that are understandable to the public. So you can see here that it started from very, very high levels in ex-communist countries, something like 70–80% of people being ashamed. I took just the Netherlands as a reference country because I could have taken Denmark or Norway as a reference country that for a very long time was very tolerant to LGBT people. I don't know where back in time it was like Bulgaria and Romania in the 80s, in Hungary, but probably sometime in the 60s there are no surveys from that period, or probably sometimes in the early 70s or something like that. Okay, this is unfortunately, it's only for the last year. Is homosexuality justifiable? It's also a value question. By the way, values are very important things, and I think this is one of the things that is missing in most of the analysis of online hate speech and of anti-democratic and anti-liberal propaganda, is the values, because values are concepts that are not influenced by something that is just happening in the world. You cannot change a value by news, for example. It's not influenced by that. You can interpret any news based on your values, in the way you wish to do it. And I think this is Bulgaria. And you can see this is a question about with 10 grade scale. Is homosexuality justifiable? Of course, there is no news that can convince you, or any information or any event that can make you think that is justifiable or not justifiable. It's a value judgment. And you see the spectrum, it goes down, down, and then now it goes up again. And there are lots of people in Bulgaria who say that it's absolutely unjustifiable in any situation, no matter what. And this is what they say in many other countries. For example, in Russia today, but also in Romania, even more than in Russia. It's a very religious and orthodox country. Or are you ashamed having a close family member as gay? Of course, shame is a very deeply emotional, value-laden emotion, so it's very difficult to change. If people feel ashamed by something, it means a lot, and you cannot easily change it. You have to work very hard on very foundational narratives and explanations, not just news or something like that. And finally, this is just from Bulgaria, but I want to show that the internet goes up. It's now, TV is behind the internet now. So it means this becomes the most important media, and it's a hybrid space. I mean, TV, it's a public space. You invite people to talk to everyone. In the hybrid space, there is no boundary between public and private. And this is very important because it makes encroachment very easy from public to private, which is a very important step. This is from Bulgaria. Now it shows that it doesn't need to be very consistent. There are lots of people, when you ask, they say, I don't approve hate speech. Hate is very bad. We have to fight hatred. Almost everybody in Bulgaria and many other countries say so. But when you present them with concrete examples of some very offensive statements about different groups, they say this is okay. I mean, because why is it okay if you ask in a focus group? Because this is simply, it's true. And I think it's just to say that those people are immoral or indulge in debauchery and so on and so forth. So you shouldn't be just led away by looking at this very superficial sociological data that somebody states that they are against hate or they are for rights and so on and so forth. In this slide, there are a few just explanations why it's so deep. Because against LGBT people, it's mainly a moral blame. For other groups in Bulgaria, but also elsewhere, they are perceived as physical threat, as danger, and so on. LGBT people are morally blamed, and this is very difficult to fight, and it makes it very easy also to use for various types of encroachment. And now I move to the final sections, just a few points from Romania, Slovakia, Hungary, Russia, and Bulgaria, and I will summarize. I explain how it works at the end. It's first about identity rights. That's how they make the argumentation why we have to start forbidding various things related to LGBT people. This is very strong in Romania, but also it appears elsewhere as well. They say that sex, for example, and even sexual orientation is part of a person's identity, so we have to protect it. Of course, you know, we have to protect all traditional values, and here I took a lot of statements concerning marriage. Yeah, they are taken from the original document. This is not from something on the Facebook. These are legislators presenting their arguments why we should adopt one law or another. Protection from ideological influence, including gender, theory and so on and so forth, but it very easily moves from gender issues to other issues, because at some point they say, but this is supported also by other ideologies or sets of ideas, so then you can start an attack on everything else that you want to stop. And it's about education. But let me say how it works in practice, and this is not a description, and this is, next slide is the last one. This is not a specific country. This is the whole conceptual framework which involves in time. And it moves from children to, it has 3+1 dimensions, moves from children to adults, from educational spaces to public, and then to private spaces. And then it moves from normal, cisgender, heterosexual people to also LGBT people, to protect, but to protect them as well. And then finally it moves from gender ideology to any ideology that is compatible with gender. So they start with children. Why? Because children by definition are not mature enough to be fully free to take their own decisions, so it's easy to explain why the government should do something to protect children, even if they don't want to be protected. Then it moves, of course, first they say we do it at schools, but then they say, okay, the next step is, and Bulgaria is now at this step. Fortunately, they stopped for some reason. They say, but why only in schools? Let's protect them in all public spaces. And then, of course, when they say all public spaces, now here they could be also a child, or I said something and a child heard it, and then the police can come and start some investigation and so on. But then they say, why only children? Let's protect also the adults. There are some adults that are not mature, they are brainwashed, they subject to propaganda, so let's extend it, move age by age. But then they say, well, why only public space? Let's also move in private space. At home, children learn things that are not appropriate. And finally, you have to protect everybody everywhere. And gradually, I'll show this, it also moves from protecting people to protecting things that are not people. For example, family is something that is not people, but it's made of still of people. But then they say we protect marriage, we protect social order, we protect responsible citizenship. And once you start protecting those kind of things, you don't anymore need a democratic consent, because you protect those things from people. It doesn't matter anymore if they approve it or disapprove it. So that's how it evolves and moves. And of course, this is just the conceptual part. Meanwhile, things are happening outside on the streets, which colleagues here described sometimes. And I think that's it, more or less. Okay? Thank you.